Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off here with the building of the... I don't think this is building actually. The transportation of the training tanks that the Americans sent to the Canadians. We're now on to this twofer of a page. It says, Empire troops reinforce Britain's armies in the Middle East. September 1940. Preparing for attack on Italy's empire. During the first part of the operations in the western, desert. Mayhem's sitting on my lap, and he can't really sit up here very well, but he has to. He says, I need up here. But yeah. In the western desert, a small British mobile force had completely dominated the eastern frontier of Libya in the face of greatly superior Italian forces, and full plans had been made to meet the enemy attack when it should come. Units of French colonial infantry army under General Charles de Gaulle's banner were formed to share in the defense of Egypt. Meanwhile, Britain's growing forces were heavily reinforced during September. Numerous detachments of land troops and airmen from Great Britain, India, Australia, and New Zealand being disembarked at ports in the Middle East. The upper picture shows Indian troops after disembarking from a transport below. Left, a troop ship coming alongside to discharge troops. Right, airmen disembarking on with their kit. So here we see at the top here, and this is the left picture here, a troop ship coming alongside to discharge troops. So that would be this one, I believe, here. Yep, it's this one here. That's the troop ship. On the right here is airmen disembarking with their kit. And then at the top, this is that Indian detachment that they were talking about after disembarking. Yeah, obviously, the British Empire is huge, so the Empire would use all of its resources to fight this war. It's just like any country today using all their resources. It just so happens that this country was the largest land empire in human history. Okay. Berlin gets a sample of British bombs. September 10th, 1940. How Britain hit back. The RAF paid frequent visits to Berlin, often staying for several hours over the city, which contained many military objectives. On September 10th, the Germans admitted that hits were scored on the Reichstag and the garden of Joseph Paul Goebbels' home. Above, German safety service workers putting out a fire by British incendiary bombs. Below, civilians clearing away the debris after a night raid on Germany's capital. So here we see the firemen putting it out. And yeah, Britain will attack Berlin. This will really anger Funny Mustache Man. And this will help Britain in a way to where Germany will waste a lot of troops on attacking the cities more rather than military objectives, because Funny Mustache Man was so infuriated by these attacks that he said, no, just bomb them into non-existence, basically. And yeah, here we see the civilians cleaning up the rubble. And obviously, yes, they are trying to say in a way, oh, look, they were just attacking all these military objectives. And while there were a lot of military objectives, to be fair, the British also did attack civilians in the city. Actually, one of the bombings, and I think this actually happens later on, but eventually one of the bombings will destroy a museum that will have the only most well-completed skeleton of a Spinosaurus, which is a great loss to natural history. A dinosaur we know very little about, and this is the most completed skeleton we ever had, was obliterated. But yeah, so they were trying to say, oh, all the military objectives, but they did attack civilian. Just it happens. To be fair, it just like it happens with what the Germans did too. You know, you're dropping bombs. Sometimes you miscalculate things like that. And yes, there were sometimes it was a malicious attack on civilians, which that's wrong. Civilians civilians are not fighting. And those civilians could be innocent people. You know, sometimes a government goes to war, but it doesn't mean the people want to. Buckingham Palace twice bombed. September 10th to 15th, 1940. Raiders' feet and Raiders' fate. In the early morning of September 10th, a delayed action bomb caused extensive damage at King George's London home. 5 days later, another bomb hit the palace. Above, the king and queen are seen inspecting the damage. The shop outside Victoria Station, below, was demolished by a raider believed to be the plane that bombed Buckingham Palace on the 15th, which fell on the roof of the shop in flames. So here we see the king and queen just kind of inspecting the damage of their home. I'm sure many people were kind of like, this is really weird to have the king and queen just kind of watching you, going like, hey, well, you know, how's the damage look? I feel like that would be kind of weird. It'd be like today if, you know, the president, was watching construction workers working on, like, the White House or something. It'd be kind of weird, but... And yeah, here, this is the plane that they believe bombed Buckingham Palace. It could not be. It could have just been another plane in that formation. But still, if this is the plane, then that's even if it isn't the plane, I should say, it's a big morale boost because this says, oh, hey, look, they may have attacked us, but we took them down. They won't attack us again. Oh, it's a twofer page. It says, September 13th, 1940. Italians invade Egypt. Mussolini's troops began their long-awaited advance into Egypt early in September, and on the 13th they crossed the frontier and occupied El Saloum. I don't know. Here, Italian troops are seen advancing across the desert under a covering barrage from their artillery. So here we see those Italian troops. We see the barrage going further and further forward, and this is obviously something that you would do because, well, actually, this was a technique they used in the First World War too. The idea was to soften up the enemy. So, like, soften them up with the artillery and then move forward. So any enemies that were caught in the artillery would be either killed or they would be damaged enough that when your infantry moved up, they wouldn't be able to hold a fierce resistance against your infantry. It's a useful tactic, but it didn't always work like they had wanted. Italy faces Britain on the soil of Egypt. September 13th, 1940. Campaign in the desert. After occupying Saloum and the customs post of El Musad, on September 13th, the Italian forces consisting of infantry, mechanized units, black shirts units, and camel corps penetrated a few miles into the trackless and waterless desert by way of Wadi Halfaya, nicknamed by the British Hellfire Pass. Artillery fire caused them heavy losses. The British deliberately withdrew before the Italian advance in order to tempt the enemy into a dangerous lengthening of their lines of communication. Meanwhile, the Duce's troops were constantly harried by tanks and the RAF and by the fleet's guns from the sea. The picture shows above Italian soldiers supported by caterpillar-pulled artillery advancing near El Saloum. Below, left British tanks crews cleaning up in the western desert. Center, Italian machine gunners taking cover in shallow trenches near El Saloum, and then right, Italian an Italian desert spotter looking out for the dreaded raiding parties of the British tanks. So here we see up top, I'm trying to see if I can remember which one each of these are. Whoops. Oh, that's the center one, I think. No. Oh boy, I can't remember. Pictures. Oh, okay. This is the Italian troops being supported by the Caterpillar artillery. Caterpillar pulled artillery. That's what this one is up there. Off to the left here, we have the British troops cleaning up a tank after an engagement. Down here, we see Italian machine gunners taking cover, as they said. And then off to the right, we have a spotter looking out to make sure that they're not going to get surprise attacked by the British. It's always cool to see these pictures, mostly because a lot of these you might have seen in like a TV show or a movie, or even like a documentary. But I think this is one of the best ways to see these because you actually get a more in-depth look at these pictures. Unlike a single quick passing glance, I try to show these as much as I can. But yeah, and also yes, that was Mayhem in his little ear. He was looking at the book himself. He was interested himself. All right, well that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Tell me what I can improve on. And as always, subscribe. It really does help, and I appreciate each one of you guys. Thank you.